My Lords, could I just echo the words of the Noble Lord, Lord Coker, and say this has been one of the loveliest debates that I've ever been privy to in this chamber. My Lords, as his family prepares to say goodbye and his body lies in the crypt just yards away, may we all just spare a moment to think about David Amess and the tragic way in which he died. It was absolutely senseless, it's shocked us all. And as Noble Lords have said, we must extend our thanks to Essex Police and the Metropolitan Police for their quick and comprehensive response and in apprehending and charging the alleged culprit. Could I also bring out for special mention my thanks to my noble friend Lady Stowell of Beeston for moving this amendment, and my noble friend Lady Newlove's testimony there, which was deeply moving, first-hand experience of this, and the noble Lady O'Lone, who has such experience in this area, particularly in Northern Ireland, and how it has been dealt with day in and day out for decades. And I also understand as a Catholic the importance of extreme unction, absolution and viaticum for those close to death. But of course not just Catholics, as the noble Right Reverend Prelate the Bishop of Leeds says, but not just it is this balance, I think, that we have to strike, this sensitive balance to, I hope, answer my noble friend Lord Moylan's point about who owns the body, with the humanity that needs to be shown and the sensitivity that needs to be shown to the families and to the person who is dying. So that is the balance, I think, that we need to strike here. And on to the first aspect of this, which is the duties of the police. The primary duties of a police constable, as the noble Lord Paddock says, is the protection of life, and where a person is injured, the first responsibility of any police officer is to preserve that life, whether it's directly administering emergency first aid or indeed supporting paramedics to do the same. But as well as that protection of life, police do need to consider the preservation of evidence at a crime scene. Forensic evidence is, of course, the crucial piece of the puzzle in many investigations, and so it's vital that anything that might be relevant is properly retained and free from contamination. In terms of the guidance, the College of Police's guidance outlines the importance of securing and preserving a crime scene and avoiding that cross-contamination. It states that anyone who enters the scene both takes something of the scene with them and leaves something of themselves behind. And further, if scenes are not properly managed, this can distort findings and prolong subsequent efforts to identify offenders. These aren't easy decisions, especially in a situation where a victim is critically injured and likely to die. But the presumption that any religious official be allowed to enter a crime scene is one that has got the potential to prevent the police from being able to do their job effectively in catching criminals and bringing them to justice. That said, the things that people have said tonight, particularly the noble Lady O'Lone, are something that I will take back. But I think by the same token, no noble lord would want to see the guilty walk free as a consequence of such an unintended contamination of forensic evidence. So given those considerations, the decision to allow a priest or any other minister of religion access to a criminal scene must be an operational one for the officer in charge of the scene and taken on a case-by-case basis. All that said, as I said earlier, I am pleased that on the 9th of November, Cardinal Vincent Nichols announced that he and the Met Police Commissioner had agreed to work together to establish a joint group to study the access given or refused to Catholic priests to crime scenes related to traumatic violence. I understand that in particular the group will consider whether any changes are required to the guidance that is issued to officers faced with such situations, and I'm sure noble lords would agree that that's a very encouraging development. I know that my noble friend Lady Stowell of Beeston understands that this is not a matter for legislation. No, noble Lord Lord Toohey echoed that, and that the police are in a really difficult situation in these circumstances. The priority for the police must be securing the crime scene in pursuit of the investigation and bringing the guilty to justice. But I am confident, with such sensible heads on this, that a sensible a decision will be arrived at for suitable guidance. COVID has put aside many norms, including, as my noble friend said, perhaps chaplains at care homes and maybe in hospitals, although I understood that chaplains were available 24 hours a day in hospitals. I am more than happy to meet my noble friend and the Catholic Union ahead of the next stage and to request a health minister. But I hope that in the light of the discussions between the Archbishop and the Metropolitan Police, and having had this opportunity to debate this difficult issue, my noble friend would be happy to withdraw her amendment.
My Lords, well, I'm very grateful to my noble friend, the Minister,